got this right of privacy that the Supreme Court found in the Constitution. So you have a right to deal with your own body, yes? Does that mean you have a right to sell your body parts?
No, according to the Constitution, no.
Right? Logically? It's illegal in every state. Okay. And by the way, there's a shortage of organs nationwide, right? So if you let people sell them and you move the price, you probably get more organs. So it's okay to do it for free, but you can't sell it. Well, what else we got? Well, can you sell your kids' body parts? What happened if you, what would happen if somebody had a child in order to use their body parts for other siblings?
Yeah, and you well, if you go through a transplant coordinator through the hospital, you can donate a kidney to your sibling. You know,
you can give it away, but you can't sell it.
Right. Right.
But your body.
Yeah, the case was where the family has.
Does this make any sense to you? You can abort a child, but you can't sell it. Or can you? My mother-in-law has won 4 children. Well, she paid $20,000 apiece to adopt them. Is that buying or adopting?
Not buying.
That's fine.
It's all how you label and frame it.
Right. She thinks it's the most ethical thing she's ever done.
It's how you label and frame it. It's worth what we're doing.
She thinks she's saved them. Right? She's very religious. She really is. But there's no doubt in my mind that she bought one. Right? Right. And I'm telling you, this is a woman who makes $40,000 a year, so she saves money and then buys a kid. Yeah. Okay? Yes, My Sister's Keeper. Book, movie. Okay. If you have a right of privacy to do what you want with your body, can you drink yourself into oblivion during pregnancy? A Wisconsin case.
No.
Well,
When we got prosecuted.
If somebody wants to go after you, you can't do it, but there's a lot of cases where people do it anyway. Nobody goes after them.
They put her in jail.
To protect
Yeah.
the baby.
Yeah. But is this right of privacy, right of self-determination?
It's not just you.
The right of privacy applies to the abortion thing, so you can't.
Well, how about surrogacy? Mary Beth
She
Whitehead.
wasn't allowed to abort anything. She was in her second term. Wasn't that?
No, what did Mary Beth Whitehead do? Mary Beth Whitehead entered into a contract with a family to take a sperm from the husband with her egg and to deliver the baby and to give it to them for, I think, all told, after all the payoffs got made, it was $200,000. There was a clinic in New York that got a piece of it. New Jersey, service, right. Legal? Not legal.
what'd you say?
Legal or not? Half the states is legal, half the states is not.
Oh my gosh.
I have a patient.
Right of privacy? All right? Look, if you can abort it, right, why shouldn't you be able to sell it? Right?
But are you selling the baby or your services?
So is it part of the selling part, or is it which part is the problem?
Well, you tell me. Does any of this bother you?
So I knew someone who got pregnant because her sister couldn't have children, so she
Yeah.
carried her sister's baby.
Right.
She had no funds getting pregnant, so she.
But that's selling your services, the baby to your sisters,
That's correct.
not her biological
That's correct.
relation. She just was selling her services or loaning her services.
Well, I guess her sisters or brother-in-law.
So you're saying it's bad if you sell it, but if you donate it, it's okay?
She kind of had an implant, that's what she did to her sisters.
Are we in Never Never Land?
Yes. Technology is.
Economically and ethically, are we in Never Never Land? Now, remember I said we started out, it looked okay, right? Contraception's okay. And now look where we are. With a red apprentice. Right? Is it not a slippery slope? And you know where it's headed. You know where it's headed, don't you? Oh yeah, have you seen those? Ads in college newspapers. If you get pregnant, we will do adoption for you and pay you $40,000. Really? Okay. So if you can sell it before it's born, why can't you sell it after it's born? What's the difference? Right? None of that. If you're an economist, somebody's willing to pay more for it, probably willing to treat it better, right?
Like,
I'm teasing you.
if you could sell the child like about 15 years after it's born.
Yeah, my wife would say the same thing. Okay.
Sounded a little too serious over there.
Okay. Side question. You guys are primary care providers, right? Ever go to a restaurant? Do you leave a tip? Well, why shouldn't you guys get tips for good service?
I've always wondered that.
No, we do get a tip for good service.
And so in Russia you do.
We get a tip, it's just not called a tip. We get bonuses, we get.
Oh, but I'm talking about from the patient.
Oh, I know a surgeon that gets stuff from his patients, and he takes it. I mean, he gets extra stuff, or they'll, give him some tractor or gun that they had, or whatever.
Yeah.
My patients do
I get eggs.
stuff, and I was like, I should not take it, like, basic.
Just rags.
Yeah.
But it's not money, it's that there's these obviously people traffic, they make it up, and they try to get it.
Play the other side. The people who are opposed to this, what are they going to say? Why no tipping for medical care?
Because then it becomes,
You might get a better care than that.
faster, you get a bigger tip. They make it preferential treatment.
Yeah.
That's the word, yeah.
That's what it's for, right? Good service.
Right.
They say, well, poor people can't afford the tip, so they won't get access to care.
Then I have a.
But I don't think that when I give a, like if I don't tip with money, but if my parents are in the hospital, I always get the nurses something, so I know how hard they're doing.
The poor people cannot understand, and some people can. But then when you go to these, when the board members are admitted, or when CEOs are admitted, how come everybody knows that's a CEO, we have to do special care? Why is that?
And you're supposed to treat every patient equal.
Yes. When they come and tell me.
Did you ever hear about, there was a group of doctors that had patients that would just pay them cash? It was a small number of
Sure,
patients.
I know a lot of places like that.
And they would just treat them. No
I know that.
insurances.
I have a friend who serves the Amish. They all pay in cash.
Rush Limbaugh's the same thing, he doesn't carry the phone insurance, he pays cash. I was listening to him, he said, talking about the radio, because he was on vacation and had to be hospitalized. He paid cash for it.
In Eastern Europe, in all of those countries, you don't get medical care unless you bribe your doctor. Cuba too, by the way. Okay, can you see that coming?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
People from the
Oh,
European banks and stuff, I think, don't care. It's all cash. They don't use the insurance.
Cleveland Clinic.
It's all cash.
People come from the Middle East to Cleveland Clinic,
Yeah.
and they get jumped on the organ replacement.
Yeah.
Huh? Ethical? Okay. So, I claim to you that you can model some of this economically. Okay? This is, well, this is the demand for life or the demand for death. And this is supply. Okay? So that medical care services, right? Without insurance, there is a limit that you can pay. So there is a natural economic state without health insurance where people live this long are able to pay this amount. Simple supply and demand model. So this is how long people live. So now we make health care free. What have you done? Well, now demand for life goes out to here because you're not paying. Or you're paying a little bit. Do people live longer because when health care is free? If there's stuff you die from that you can't afford, you die. Right? So, free health care encourages, as an economic mechanism, people to live longer. Is it clear to you that absent health insurance, people's preference for life might not be as long? Now, what's that saying? Have we distorted the death process with economics? A whole lot of what you guys are talking about end-of-life spending, is related to the fact that people are willing to pay for it. If you had to pay out of your own pocket, it might be a whole lot different. Okay, so one of the questions you asked yesterday is, why do we do what we do at the end of life? One of the answers is, we can afford it. Or maybe not. Okay? Is that a weird model? Did you ever think about it this way? Nah. Okay. So, I haven't done demand curves or production functions with you yet. Suppose that this is value to society, and this is age.
Can I read you my text from my daughter?
Sure.
Yep, I'm fine. Felt it here too. My next door neighbor from South Africa ran out of his grease, his first earthquake.
That's from
funny.
Charlottesville.
That's funny.
Where? Charlottesville. My daughter lives in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Where was the episode?
You're there.
Charlottesville.
Between Charlottesville and Richmond, Virginia.
That is funny.
I lived in Richmond, Virginia area for 12 years, so. Yeah, I just noticed. Okay, now you have my full uninvited.
All right, so this is sort of a value function. So that, let's say, what age do you want to pin here? 20-ish, plus or minus? Before you're 20 years old, you're a drain on society. Yeah, capital investment, but, right, you don't produce more than you consume. Usually. Still in college, right? That's true. That's very true. So there comes a point you go to work, you pay taxes, you're a contributing member of society, right? You're providing a lot of value. You get to some point in your career where you're doing the best in your life in terms of the value you're producing, right? And then you turn about, what, 40? 45? Right? And it's not quite as good, right? You can't run as fast as you used to run, right? You can't work as hard as you used to work. Again, some people never go above the line, and some people will go way high all the time, right? But then at some point, right, you use a Medicare, it costs more for you to be alive than you produce as value. At some theoretical, I'm not putting numbers on it, that's some theoretical point, right? At least when you go to the nursing home. True? Okay. So there's my function. How much money do we put on people here?
We spend more money on them in the last year of their life than we do for all the other years of their life.
Okay, two questions. Why do we do it, and should we do it?
No and no.
Because spouses insist and they have insurance.
I claim not actually. Why do we do it?
For things to
Because of the slippery slope thing,
Yes, in part. In part.
like you decide.
Well, moreover, why would you contribute all this value to society here if they snuffed you when you got right to here? Number one. I claim this is a social contract. I'm going to work during my lifetime. I'm going to take care of people in this society, old people, young people. And when I get here, I want you to take care of me. Fair trade?
Well, as long as there's, see, I think it should only be for those people that have, I think people that stay in that negative should not
Hear ya.
benefit on the other end.
I hear you.
That's the problem.
Do you at least understand my social contract notion?
Yeah.
So how are you gonna
Okay.
make that decision? Because the people who are on the back
Well-
end say that the reason why they're still on the back end is because they didn't have the same opportunities that those of us who got out did.
Okay. Hold on, I don't understand. That's too
I don't
complex
believe
for me.
that, but that's what they say.
That's too complex. I can't get there yet. Let me stay
I
simple.
went to nursing school a long time ago. I somehow came all the way around.
I'm just simple. Let me stay simple on this. Suppose, and the second piece of it is just as important as the social contract. And that is, let's suppose, I'll agree, we should shut this off at some point. Where are we going to shut it off? You're going to shut it off right here? Or are you going to give me a little slack? As soon as I go net negative, are you going to snuff me? Or are you going to give me something? Or if you're going to shut me off here, why not just do it right up here? So that way you know for sure I'm not net negative. And in fact, why don't you just do it here? Okay? But the point is, if you're going to shut this thing off, where are you going to do it and how are you going to make the decision? We don't know where, and nobody wants to make a decision. So therefore, we don't shut it off at all. So I claim to you that the reason we don't withdraw treatment for people who really ought to have it withdrawn is, number one, we're afraid we'll demotivate people during their working years, and number two, we're afraid they don't know how to make the decision. Do you want the government making that decision?
No.
That was a quick answer, wasn't it? Who do you want making that decision?
I don't know.
I don't either, and therefore, nobody makes it. Right? So, in this framework, we don't make economic decisions from that last slide, and so people live an awful lot longer than is probably good for them, just because of the economics and the lack of decision making. Does that explain stuff? I call it demand for death. Okay? It's economic. People laugh at me when I say that that's an economic function. Okay.
A lot of it is family led though. You know, all the court cases that we hear about are like the Terry Shiloh case, the husband wanted to plug the holes, the parents didn't. If the parents agree with the provider, and we never hear about those cases, and they happen all the time.
That's correct.
Only ones we hear about is when there's contention, when it becomes a life, right to life.
That's what I said before. I don't want to be a test case. Yep. Oh, and there's a lot of that floating around here too. The case, well, there's two cases that come to mind. There's a case where a 65-year-old lady who was probably worth $4 million had a stroke, and she had two nieces, only living relatives. Both nieces said, withdraw life support from her. She wouldn't have wanted to be like this. And the lady was able to wink in Morse code to the nurse that I'm okay, don't do it.
Oh my God.
They wanted the money.
Wow.
And then
She changed her will.
Then there, yeah, I think. Then there's the Florida case where a military guy is separated from his wife for a year and a half, and the divorce is going to become final in the next week or two. Had a motorcycle accident, and that left him flatlined, and the mother comes into court. The wife goes into court to withdraw life support, and the mother comes in and opposes. The wife's getting paid, or it's the other way around. Mother comes in and asks for termination. Wife says, no, I want him kept alive. The wife's getting his GI pay. The mother's the beneficiary of the GI life insurance policy. Okay? The court withdrew life support. Okay. I claim to you that in almost every other instance, there are cost-benefit decisions that we make. We don't do it with end of life, and I think we don't do it at end of life because of what I'll call the social contract, and because we don't have a decision rule to deal with it. In your case, who's going to say no?
We had a case just 2 weeks ago where a guy, he's got diabetes, he's got end-stage kidney disease, we cut off both his legs because his feet were falling off, and he had an advanced directive. He did not want to be kept alive, but his wife, I mean, he was in a coma because he had arrested. His wife said, no, keep him alive. You've got to fix him. I can't lose him. What are we going to do? You know, our hands are tied. Would everybody talk to her, from me to the cardiologist, the intensivist, the chaplains, the case manager? No, she said, keep him alive. I know you guys can do it.
I say a lot of those issues are because our society is so difficult.
Sure.
We don't accept that as we.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the problem.
Absolutely. And we're terrified of our shadows. I mean, for us to put up with the transportation nonsense is absolute craziness.
I always wondered, when situations come up like that, if the family was told that after a certain point, they have to pick up the bill.
Well, that's what I was saying before, absolutely.
I mean, then I think things.
If you want to be kept alive, you pay for it.
Right.
But right now, we can't do that because that was set
No.
precedent and that
Right.
would.
Right, absolutely.
They didn't change.
I joked on one of the slides. You know, I want so-and-so to be kept alive at your expense.
Right.
Well, that distorts the decision-making big time. Is it clear to you that decisions based on self-determination and individualism here are craziness? The slippery slope stuff, right? It can't be total self-determination. Really. Also, problem is, if that's not the case, if people can't make their own decisions here, then where are we? You know, so we're at the never, never land. There is a philosophical principle called the greatest good for the greatest number. Have you ever heard that, utilitarianism? That might be a better philosophical policy underpinning than what we use, but we don't do that.
Canada?
Huh?
In Canada?
Canada does?
Like this determining if it should